The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethimarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethimarket.com. Ethimarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers. Each life we incarnate into has a divine purpose. For the majority of people on this planet, their purpose has eluded them. We have become so distracted with the struggle to survive that we have forgotten what we are here to do. In alignment with the sacred laws of nature, the ultimate purpose of all existence is to create and evolve. We certainly do not incarnate into life with the intention to destroy. And yet, we have come to live in a very destructive world. As a result, there are many out there who feel lost or adrift, whilst knowing deep down inside that something is very wrong with their reality. Many people wish they could do something of value, anything that is purposeful, instead of having to submit to a system of slavery in order to survive. It is important never to let go of that feeling. That is your soul crying out to you, telling you that your life has value and that you do indeed have a purpose. The most important thing you can do in life is to recognize your purpose, and often that requires a lot of soul searching. Life indeed dishes out some pretty tough challenges, which will either move you closer towards your purpose path, or will give you great training for when you finally realize what it is that you came here to do. But more often than not, the very clues about your life's purpose are hidden in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of our existence. But we are so easily distracted by irrelevant details that don't really matter, that often we miss the very obvious right in front of us. It is because of our willful ignorance of anything that does not fit our preconceived ideas that the truth about the nature of our reality is so readily hidden in plain sight. This is a very deep and personal journey, which has come to be expressed in many aspects throughout my life. This is not just an attempt to retell a bunch of research and pass it off as my own, for I am very grateful and openly acknowledge all the many wonderful people that I have been given the opportunity to work with and to learn from in order to get to the point where I've come to know what I now know. This is a journey I was always destined to go on, and likewise, how I have come to know this information forms as much a part of the story as the information itself.
Your life.
Hello, good evening, everybody, or good morning, good afternoon, wherever in the world you may be. My name is Mel Ve, and this is Dragonology. Now, for those of you who may be new to Dragonology, as the name suggests, Dragonology is about the knowledge of the dragon. Pretty simple to understand. So if this happens to be your first time with us, welcome. And for those avid students of Dragonology, welcome back. Hopefully tonight will be just as exciting as all the previous episodes. Tonight is episode 12, and of course it's the 11th of June, 9 p.m. in London, and 10 p.m. local time here in Central Europe. So yeah, I'm going to just crack on straight through because we have quite a lot to get through this evening. And following on from the theme of last week, and if you haven't seen any of the previous Dragonology episodes, feel free to go back and have a little look through them and catch up. I'll try to keep this as all-encompassing as possible so that those who are perhaps entering into this information for the first time kind of get an overall perspective that is all-encompassed within one episode, while still making it relevant to all those people who have been following on and building onto the existing information. So do be patient with us for those of you who watch every week. Last week, we started with the themes of angels and demons, exploring the inevitable ubiquitous duality, which seems to be an inescapable theme when it comes to dragons. And tonight, we extend that theme into the ubiquitous duality, focusing on the realms of heaven and hell. And this is going to be really exciting because this goes to some very interesting places. So again, if anybody has any pre-existing belief systems, this may not be for you, or maybe it is. Okay. Starting with our first quote from the evening. This is from The Ashes of Angels, The Forbidden Legacy of a Fallen Race by Andrew Collins. Okay. In the apocryphal testament of Amram, an important sacred document, Amram reveals the following. They answered me, we have been empowered and rule over all of mankind. One of them was terrifying in his appearance, like a serpent, his cloak of many colors, yet very dark, his visage like a viper. All right, and so now they're talking about angels, all right, that has a visage of a viper, which is interesting because if anybody's been watching any of the other broadcasts that we do here on Conscious Consumer Network, you may have previously caught the broadcast with Global Freedom Movement that they did with Steve Richards, and Lisa M. Harrison recently interviewed Steve Richards as well. And he talks about how he helps people who have entities attached to them or possessing them. And quite often when people say that, you know, they see angels, when these angels show themselves in their real form, they're actually winged serpents, quite terrifying. So again, all angels are demons and demons are angels, as we discovered and worked out last week. But we're going to now extend this a bit further because everything has two sides. Even love has a light and a dark side. Love is not all light, irrespective of what the New Ages might tell you. Okay. What is the aim of Dragonology? Dragonology, quite simply, the aim of it is to prove beyond dispute that dragons are real, they do exist, and have always existed. They have taken on different names and labels in different cultures across the world, but through a study of etymology and philology, a pattern develops which links all of these different beings, referenced under different names in different contexts, to the same creature commonly known as a dragon. So just a quick dragon etymology recap. This should be familiar to those of you who have been following on. All right, from the top, the most common root word is the dragon root word or, which sometimes has the U between the O and the R, giving you R, okay, and the AR is a transliteration of that. And of course, the org takes on the phi sound at the end to give you orf, which then goes into the ophi, and the end vowel sound transliterates out into the various Y, O, and O-P-H-A. And then the P-H-A, of course, being the first three letters of Fane, the god Fane, which then indicates the word window pane. Fane gives root to the word phantom. In turn, fae and fairy come from the Fane root. And then, of course, the famous Pala Para Pio root triad, which is one that we focus on quite a lot. We've covered off the Kolo, Kolu, Kula, Kulu, Kali root, the Naga and naked snake root, the spiral, sprite, spirit, spit root, basileus, basilica, basilisk, and obelisk. The being the root of theology, theosophy, and philema. And then Ange being the root of Angevin, the Angevin dynasty or the House of Anjou, Angui or anguish, and angel. And then, of course, we did a bit of this last week, the Mel, Mul, Mol, Mer, Sir, and Sir root. And then the Jen root, D-J-E-N, which obviously becomes what we've commonly known in Arabic as the Jinn, which translates right into gene, like as in genealogy or Genesis, and then into gone, go, ghost, and then host. And this is where we move our point forward from tonight. Okay, again from last week, if you remember, Malak is the standard Hebrew word for messenger or angel, spelt M-A-L with apostrophe A-K-H, and that's a bit like Ankh or Ark. And we will get back into that in a later Dragonology episode because that becomes important as well, that Ankh. Malak is also referenced to be the shining serpent, interpreted as the radiant king, indicative of majesty. You often find a lot of euphemisms or words pertaining to light, glowing, brilliance, illumination, fire, shining, flashing, any of those qualities pertaining to the aspect of light seems to follow through in various interpretations and toning downs and taking of concepts. And although it says the same thing in one language, it means something different in another language. And the word majesty, okay, quite literally is a reference to the radiant king, and of course the M-A root over there. The M-A-J, all right, like the M-A-L, the M-A-L here, as we spoke about last week, M-A-L in the Persian language means leader or ruler. Now we get on to the good stuff, just for the basics there, so you guys have got it down. Malak is the angel or messenger, and Mel in Persian means leader or ruler. So let's look at what a ruler is, all right, just for a second. Let's have a bit of fun here. The name given to an object usually found being used as part of school or office stationery, all right? I'm sure everybody at some stage has used one of these if you've been through a traditional education. I remember my teacher used to rack us over the knuckles with the ruler. It was quite a common thing done back then. We were subjected to corporal punishment. But basically, we were afraid of the ruler, which was the item of punishment used, interestingly enough. And rulers are commonly used to rule straight lines. This is what we used to do with them. We used to put them under something and take a pencil and rule the straight line, or use the centimeters and inches markations to mark out spaces if necessary. But typically, this item that we made straight lines with and measured out spaces with is called a ruler. And that is very interesting because the Freemason symbol has, what do we call it? A ruler. Yes, it may be considered a square, but if you said to any person who didn't really know what the symbol was, what is this thing? They're not going to say to you it's a square. They'll most likely say to you it's a 90-degree ruler, because that's what it is. It's even got the space markations on it. All right, so this is a ruler. And the appearance of the ruler on the Freemasons logo is an indication as to the intention of this particular secret society and the clandestine intentions of those certainly above the 33rd degree. So another interesting part, which I suppose is just a by the way, this is a compass, and generally compasses are used
when mapping distances on maps, long distance. Okay, you often see people using compasses on maps. It's not a very commonly used object within Freemasonry at all, other than as a symbol. All right, so if you're marking out maps, think of the colonialists and the people who went to colonize, colo being a root word, a dragon root word. They would, typically I get the image of Christopher Columbus, like in a dark room in the bows of his ships, using a compass to find his way across the oceans. So this is very much what it represents to me, is colonization and rule, all right? The compass and the ruler. Where there are rulers, there are slaves. You can't have one without the other. If there were no slaves to rule over, there would be no rulers. And if there were no rulers, there would be no slaves. So how are we controlled? How are we ruled? And how are we made slaves? The system which effectively enslaves humanity at the moment is based on something called maritime and admiralty law, all right? And now this is typically the law that governs sea trade and incidents at sea. Yet human beings who live on land most of the time, 99% of the time, all right, we are governed by the laws of the sea, although we live on the land, all right? Interesting that. So it's why then have they used maritime law to enslave us? What people need to understand is that there's a lot of spiritual bondage in the way that law has been enacted. And the whole realm of spirituality and esotericism and all of that has actually been completely bastardized by sort of the Roman cult and the Babylonian Brotherhood. And what they've done is they've used spells and black magic and all sorts by using the same symbols, which are very deeply interwoven into the fabric of reality, to bind, enslave, and confuse us and trap us in a certain level of reality that totally detaches us from the true, beautiful, extraordinary nature of free beings that we were ultimately always meant to be. So let's have a look a bit more at maritime law. And I actually put this little poster up here because it says here, this is an advert for insurance, okay? I beg your pardon, a law firm who basically is offering themselves as lawyers to anybody seeking compensation for commercial fishing accidents, talking about money that seamen can recover. So technically maritime and admiralty law should pertain to the laws of the seas, yet the laws of the seas, the laws of the waters, the laws of the oceans govern us here on the land, particularly through all the commercial laws. So let's get a bit deeper into that. I'm not going to get into the law aspect of things. We have plenty of people who broadcast on this network who can take you through maritime and admiralty law any other time. We go here into what we call the spiritual bondage aspect and why maritime law. Before we get into why, let's talk about the laws of God or from heaven. One of the most commonly sort of allocated set of laws that we've been taught about is the Ten Commandments, which were sort of given to us, on Mount Sinai, given to Moses, and that he passed down to mankind. It's a lot of rather oppressive and just things here that don't really make sense and actually are very much rooted in ritual. But just to go through a couple of them here, for example, okay? Thou shalt have no other gods before me, all right? A jealous God, controlling God, all right? Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images, so no false idols, all right? Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. Now, a lot of people misunderstand that. People think that means blaspheming and saying, oh, Jesus Christ, oh, God, or something like that in a, damning or derogatory way. What this actually originally refers to, using the Lord's name in vain, is when you do something in vain, is you do it without purpose. You don't call to the angels unless you really frickin' want them there, just like you don't call to the devil unless you really frickin' want them there. You don't call their name unless you want to contract with them. And that is what that is saying. It's got nothing to do with using God's name as a swear word. All right, this one here. Remember the Sabbath day. Keep it holy, okay? For on the sixth day the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Okay, so we're going to deal with the Sabbath tonight, all right? This is in the commandments. Why is the Sabbath so important? It's in the laws. I'm not going to get into the others over here. I just thought I'd focus on the first tablet. But most existing law is very repressive and largely exists for the purposes of control and manipulation, and is normally based in religious and cult doctrine, and is thoroughly and unnecessarily excessive. To be honest with you, the only laws you ever really need to follow is do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impede the freedom of another. Those are the three laws that you need to follow. Apart from that, the rest of it is superfluous, and any other law put on top of you is really just a mechanism of control. And, it goes contrary to natural law, which, to be honest with you, you don't have to do anything that goes against nature. All right, looking at the dragon root word grouping, Mel, Mol, Mel, Mer, Mar. Okay, this is maritime, as we've spoken about already. Okay, maritime law, Mar. So that's where that comes in. Also the root of Mary, as in the Virgin Mary. Think about it. Anyway, moving on. So here we got Malak, as we've already said, which is a Hebrew word for angel or messenger, the most common Hebrew word for angel or messenger. Often the word Malachi is an extension of Malak. In the Persian root, Mel means king or leader. Melek also means king or leader. And then Malak, without the apostrophe, means sailor, right? So here's when we get into the maritime themes, the themes of crew and all of that. All right, so it gets very interesting here. Malak, Mel, Melek, Malak, as we've already just discussed over here, what they mean, all right, are indicative of the English term lordship. Okay, think about it. Your lordship, his lordship. As we say, keep calm and ask his lordship. The ladyship, okay, friendship, kingship. Why ship? All right, why? It all ties into the etymological linking back to maritime. And where you can see this is ships and boats were very much thought of as heavenly hosts. Okay, we spoke about ghosts and hosts, the heavenly hosts. They hosted the gods, they carried them in the heavens. And you can see a serpent here, always serpents turning up in depictions of the gods. And this is an ancient Egyptian depiction. This looks like it could be Anubis or Osiris. And here we go again. Another boat with the serpent on. You can see this is definitely a very old Egyptian temple depiction. And over here, the boat actually has a ship head. And commonly we've seen ships with dragon heads on the end or mermaid heads. This is a very common thing, is to give some kind of like persona to a ship because of this reference to it being a heavenly host, a boat that came from the sky, almost like a space ship, which brought aliens or star people or angels or something of that nature. And you see these boats turning up everywhere. Here is a solar disk, very commonly theme or symbol when we're talking about dragons. The sun masks the dragon, but also in Egyptian mythology and religion, you always find the solar disk turning up everywhere. Because here's another boat with people on it being carried by an Egyptian god or king or pharaoh of some sort. You can tell by the headdress, okay? And the scarab, of course, very holy symbol in Egyptian mythology. Here again, this one's Horus. You can tell by the Horus bird, the sun above Horus, because Horus was a sun god, wrapped in a serpent, because you can see they're wearing Uraeus over there. And then what have we got here is, this is Apophis, the serpent god of the underworld, all right? And look, what are they on? A boat, another one. So this maritime theme, I'm sure it's starting to settle in a bit more for people now and where we get this idea from. but you'll be amazed at just how exactly this extends. The angels or malak are compared to a crew member of a naval vessel or likened to an army or task force. Often you'll see them depicted with spears and arrows and bows or shields, or dressed with armor or military attire. And of course, the word religion, okay? The host are originators of formalized religion, okay? A word borrowed from the Latin transitive verb religare, okay? That's where you get religion, which actually religare means to bind or moor a boat. Now, think about a host. A harbor hosts boats, right? Heaven and harbor. The theme of ships, boats, or naval crew representing an army of angels from heaven is further indicated by the wordplay of harbor and heaven. Now, it's not so much harbor and heaven that are similar, but if you actually look at the word harbor in the Dutch language, it's spelled haven, right? Look at that, haven, heaven. Haven is etymologically cognizant with the English word heaven. So the Dutch word for harbor, which is haven, is etymologically cognizant with heaven, the English word, right? And here's further extensions of the malak root and what it means. Malak, which of course also references Moloch, because the vowel sounds transliterate out. Moloch, the bull god, sometimes depicted with wings, is cognizant in the Arabic with the noun malik, meaning a place of destruction or dangerous place. And of course, mulak, meaning fatal or destructive. Start looking at these words. Okay, what are they meaning? All very fear-based, negative, all right? Kind of the things you would associate with hell or demons. Fatal, destructive, a place of destruction, a dangerous place. And of course, you've seen this one before. One of the most common practices that is associated with the god Moloch is the sacrificing of children, very clearly demonstrated here, and of course the worship of the god Moloch, which is represented here. Often this seems to be some kind of burning fire. Sacrificial burnt offerings, known as holocausts, are commonly associated with this as well. The owl is a symbol of Moloch, as the owl at Bohemian Grove represents Moloch, and this is a 200-foot stone owl at Bohemian Grove. We've covered this off as well extensively in previous Dragonologies. Here it is again, and a ritual ceremony going on at Bohemian Grove. Google Bohemian Grove if you don't know what it is. Okay. The correlation between boats and angels can be seen in the etymological similarity of ferry and fairy. So you catch a ferry across the channel, and that would be spelt like that. But of course, the fairies, little beings or sprites with wings, are from the race known as the Fae, much like Morgan Le Fay, right? Fairy is an extension of that. So again, you can see how these words link into each other and why the maritime theme links into the Dragonology etymology. Becomes very clear here. Okay, moving on a bit. Thakal, the word thakal. In the Quran, Thakal are referenced as a mighty and heavy army. Now, again, remember, we've already spoken about the angels being referenced as a naval crew, an army, okay, warriors. In the Quran, Surah 55, verses 31 to 33, in the surah entitled The Lord of Mercy, the Thakal are quoted as such: "We shall attend to you two large armies of jinn and mankind. If you can pass beyond the regions of heaven, then do so. You will not pass without our authority." Now, several things here. Of course, they're referencing an army of jinn, which is angels, demons, dragons, whatever you want to call them. But also it says you cannot pass beyond the regions of heaven, so the sky, what we would reference as the heavens, okay, without their authority. Interesting, because automatically what this does is brings back the flat earth imagery where you've got the dome over the top of the flat earth referenced as the firmament, which we supposedly can't pass through. And, the whole thing of people have gone to the moon. No, they haven't. The lunar moon landings were faked, okay? Is anyone actually able to get off this planet kind of thing? Are we really a prison planet? And it's interesting to say that we cannot pass the heavens without the authority of the jinn and the angels, okay? Whether that's our spirit shall not pass after death or before death, or whether that's actually a physical thing that we cannot pass past a certain point within the sky, being the heavens, that which you reference the heavens, where the stars are, what we can see and identify. And no, it's a lot to be interpreted through that one. A lot of meanings there, a lot of interpretation. Okay, we'll go quickly through this, so try to stick with me. Thakal plays on the Syrian transitive verb tharak, meaning to move, and that corresponds with saboth, which is cognizant with Sabbath and boat. You can see the boat in there. That would be B-O-A-T, it's Sabbath. And then the word Sabbath, as in we've already spoken about the Sabbath, one of the 10 Commandments, keep the Sabbath holy. All right. So Sabbath and boat, meaning crew. All right. This word here, Sabbath, means crew. And then is rendered in the modern Hebrew as Savet, which means crew, warfare, army, or host, as in ghost, host. All right, here we go. Host. The word host stems from ghost, go, gone, and dragon. We've covered this off again. We've gone into this deep in previous Dragonology, so go back and check them out. Manifestations of the host intimates the sacrifice of a victim due to the etymological correspondence with the Latin word hostia and holstis, referencing the drinking of blood, okay? That's what holstis references, the drinking of blood. And this is a Vedic deity with menstrual blood being represented here, and that's what this is all about. And this is actually why they wear the Hindu dot over here, all right? You notice a lot of these Naga temples in India and stuff like that have these snakes and stuff covered in this red sort of stain and paint, and very specifically focusing on the third eye and the genital region, sometimes the heart. All right. The etymological similarity between holstis and hysteria. Okay, now hysteria is the Greek word, which you get hysterectomy. If they take out your uterus, and this is an example of the operation called a hysterectomy, it is the removal of the uterus. This is referring directly to removal of uterus. Hysterectomy, which is, this is the root. Hystera is the Latin root of hysterectomy. Okay, holstis and hysteria. So what we're talking about here, okay, holstis references the drinking of blood, but, I beg your pardon, what it actually also references is, it denotes the ingestion, not just of blood, but of menstrual blood. And for those of you kind of a weak stomach, this is an ancient concept, the ingestion of menstrual blood. We'll get into that and show you how. This is hidden in etymology as well. Okay. So just to tie in a few things that are kind of erroneously associated here, we've covered this off a lot in previous Dragonologies, but we're going to be touching a bit on this again tonight. And the quality, of course, of light and fire being a common theme. Stars and the moon. All right, moon goddesses, and of course night. What happens at night? The stars and the moon come out. And then the priestesses and goddesses that are associated with moon goddesses, and we'll get a bit on into that. So starfire is what menstrual blood is known as. One of the most sacred of all rituals relating to the dragon is the ingestion of menstrual blood, of the high priestess, usually of the sacred dragon bloodline. Now, we've already spoken about this just a minute ago, about the dome supposedly over the top of the flat earth. And for me, the goddess Newt kind of represents that as well, all right? And then she's got stars, but also very clearly marcated out is the genitalia, okay, with the stars in her body. Supposedly, the dome or the firmament or the night sky, Newt, the goddess Newt, which means night, where you get the word night from. Look in this picture. What have we got here? A ship being carried by gods, most likely. Okay. Cover this all from previous Dragonologies. The god Newt comes from, is an older version of Nyx, which is the Greek goddess, also known as Nox. And this is where the word knight comes from. And then, of course, when you put the K in front of it, you're referencing the papal knights, the Catholic knights, the warriors. Moon goddesses. Over the years, Nyx, the goddess of darkness and night, evolved to be represented as the archetypal moon goddess, also known as the Roman goddess Luna, often represented with a moon on her head. Development of religion and its institutions is deductive from an angelic source elicited from the Sabian priesthood, okay? Now, this is interesting because what we're going to be showing you here, all right, is how this kind of all ties in etymologically, starting with the word al-Sabah, Saba, and Sabian, and Sabi. All right, this is a very interesting root. So from the Sabi priesthood obviously gave root to the Sabians, but al-Sabah is rendered in English as Sabian, and it is a derivative of the Arabic root meaning the star people. Okay, al-Sabah means the star people. Now, what's interesting is people, for example, I've told you the story before. Muhammad al-Fayed was called Muhammad Fayed, and he put the L in front of his name because he claims he is descended from Egyptian royalty. And that is where you put, normally when it's referencing something sacred or holy, you put the L in front of it, which would then be a transliteration of the Egyptian El, as in El, Elohim, right? So El-Sabah is rendered in English as Sabian and is a derivative of the Arabic root meaning star people. And what you've got here is a Sumerian scroll with the stars reference and the 7 stars of the Pleiades referenced over here. And this is before we supposedly had telescopes to see into the sky. And this is something that's a few thousand years old, okay, out of Sumeria. So star, okay, star people. The Egyptian word for star is SBA, okay. Now we're talking about Sabi priesthood, okay, but Zbah, star, okay, or Saba, as it's written in Hebrew. And this is written in hieroglyphics as a 5-pointed star, and it said Zbah, Sabah. The word Sabi is the Arabic root, okay? It's an Arabic root meaning child. So the Sabi or Sabian or Saba star priesthood also used the word Sabi to reference a child. Again, we're going closer towards child sacrifice and things like that by these priests. They are inextricably linked. Saba and Sabi. Here we've got a picture, obviously, someone with a sword about to kill a child. The words, this is actually a depiction of the story of Solomon, King Solomon. The words Saba and star, okay, and Sabi meaning child. So Saba means star and Sabi meaning child, okay, is cognizant with the Urdu verb saber, meaning to suffer, which informs on the English noun saber, referencing a sword. all right? So suffering, sword, child, and star. So children are sacrificed to the star people, okay? Suffering is necessary to create the necessary fear vibration, energetic energy necessary to sustain the star people, dragons, reptilians, whatever, and swords are used in sacrificial ritual. We have gone over the sword several times, okay? The etymology keeps coming up. The word fits into sword. O-R is the dragon root word and sword. And then again, Saba and Sabi are the root words cognizant with Shabbat, which denotes the Sabbath being the seventh day. Okay? And of course, Genesis chapter 2, verse 3 says, and God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. All right? And as you saw in the 10 Commandments, the Sabbath has to be upheld. All right? It's the seventh day. Sabbath and seventh actually are etymologically cognizant with each other, as we'll show you. The root word Saba concurs with the Sumerian root sub, all right? Saba concurs with the Sumerian root sub, and sub means below or under, like subterranean or subway, okay? It also intimates the setting of the stars, the stars submerge below the horizon of the earth. And that is where the word sub comes from. It's actually a verb taken directly from the original root word referencing stars. It's referencing the setting of the stars below the horizon, submerging into the underworld. That gets interesting because that is really what it's about. It's telling a story, that word, Saba, submerge, underworld. We'll get there. Saba, the word Saba is cognizant with the Arabic word Sabah, meaning morning, okay, suggesting a clear correlation with the morning star, right? Hello, kitty. Let me come in. The morning star, all right, the morning star is the brightest star in the night sky just before sunrise, over here, all right, and it's called Venus. Well, it is a star. It is Venus. It's Sun Venus. The star Venus is the brightest star just before sunrise. The word Venus is etymologically rooted in the word venes, indicative of the word veninum, right? Venom, all right, the word veninum is Latin for the word for poison. So veninum means poison in Latin, right? And snakes are synonymous with what? Poisonous venom. Okay. These words are etymologically cognizant with each other and link into each other through a complex tapestry of root words. Saba, venom, and seven. We'll explore that a bit more. Here we go with the seven. In the Arabic language, Saba, meaning morning, is etymologically cognizant with seven. Saba, seven. The Pleiades. The number seven is associated with the Pleiades, and we showed you earlier that Sumerian scroll which had the 7 stars of the Pleiades in them. Now, there aren't only 7 stars in the constellation known as the Pleiades, but there are a part of the Pleiades which contains a set of stars known as the 7 sisters, who are apparently the daughters of Pleione and Atlas. So here's Pleione and Atlas, okay, the central star, Alcyone, which forms one of these 7 sisters, of which Electra is one of them. Go on to Electra in a minute. Electra, represented as a constellation, Electra was the 7th daughter of Pleione and Atlas and is recorded as the invisible star. Okay, so that's Electra, recorded as the invisible star for a reason. According to Greek legend, Electra's discreet appearance documents the goddess's shame at marrying a human being. Again, human-angelic intercourse, human-angelic pairing. The sons of God came to the daughters of men, as we've spoken about in Genesis before. Okay, again, it's played out here allegorically. All right, so Lectra's discreet appearance in documents the goddess is shame at marrying a human being. Her obscurity discloses mortal angelic intercourse and its concealment and its shame. All right, and we will reference this particular thing as what we call original sin, and we will get into that in another Dragonology episode. Electra's Hellenistic name refers to electore, meaning to lick up, all right? The Greek word ekleiko is cognizant with the Frankish word lecher, meaning to lick, which assimilates into the English words lecherous and leech. Excuse me. Yeah, I think I'm done. Okay. So just to go through that again, Electra's Hellenistic name refers to electore, meaning to lick up, okay? And this is cognizant with the Greek word ekliko, which is cognizant with the Frankish word lecher, meaning to lick, and is assimilated into English as the words lecherous and leech. Now, when you think of lechering and leech, word that is, let's say, cognizant with that would be something to do with sucking or the succubus. Now, succubus or incubus is the male version of a succubus. Succubuses are female demons or deities that turn up in many different cultural mythologies. Variations of the succubus include the seemingly supernatural beings such as vampires, and one of the most common succubus, which if you Google it, you come up with, is Lilith, which turns up in the story of the Garden of Eden. And we've covered off Lilith in great detail in previous Dragonology episodes, so please do go back and check it out. Now, licking and sucking are obviously linked through association, both actions with the mouth and the tongue. And vampires are inextricably linked with the process of sucking, particularly blood sucking, as we've spoken about the succubus, which typically was a blood sucker. The word vampire, on the other hand, contains the transliteration of the dragon root word triad, which we've covered off in great detail, pala, para, pio. Okay, pia comes from this root triad. I'll show you some more of that in a minute. The Furies, all right? Here's a group called the Furies. The Furies were referenced as the infernal goddesses of vengeance, usually always wrapped in serpents with, dragon-like wings. The Furies were classed as chthonic deities, meaning they were spirits of the underworld. Here we go, submerge, go under the horizon, underworld. That's what we're referencing there, underworld, spirits of the underworld. This is a pretty famous painting on a Greek crater vase, and it shows the Furies here all covered in serpents. And this is another depiction of this particular painting, which you can see a bit more clearly. It's wrapped around the arms there. Here as well, coming off the head. Not unlike your Gorgons, like Medusa, with serpents in the hair, but obviously the wings, the dead giveaway. Serpents and wings. Couldn't be more dragon than that. Okay. Now the Furies, as we've referenced them, which is as we've spoken about, a group of chthonic deities, chthonic, I should say, deities. The Furies links in with this group of words. Fury, fairy, as we've already spoken about, linking into the maritime etymology. Fairy, as in, angels and fairies and pixies and gnomes. Fairy. Fiery, we spoke about fire and light, okay? And then, of course, fire and pyre. And then the pyre comes from vampire. Pyre. And the PH sound, which is the phi sound in Greek, is actually an F sound in modern-day English. So fire and pyre, you can see how the P could become the F. Here our transliterates out. And another example of this is the word vampire containing the pyre root from the pala, para, pio, dragon root triad, okay, is indicative of pyre, which obviously pyro, pyromaniac, meaning fire. Pyromaniac is someone who likes to play with fire. Pyro is a fire word, pyre. We talk about fire and light, very common theme, keeps coming back. As we discussed last week, angels are demons, demons are angels, and the true nature of angels, dragons, or demons are revealed in correspondence, in the correspondence of the word play. Angel, angui, which is Latin for serpent, which is where you get the word angel from. And then, of course, the word angry and anguish come from the root of angui. All right? Same root, you get angel, you get angry and anguish. And we've got the same thing here. With fairy, you get fury and fiery. That indicates the true nature of the angels. So as much as angels are demons and demons are angels, heaven and hell, are they the same concepts? And are they just two sides of the same thing, two different sides? The concept of heaven and hell are deeply rooted allegories, primarily referencing the ubiquitous duality. The words heaven and seven are etymologically cognizant and are both contain the dragon root Eve, okay? So seven has the EVE and heaven has the AVE. Okay, so Eve would go into AVE, Apha. We've done this before when we went through the Garden of Eden. Eve transliterates into Ave or Ava, and this transliterates into Apha. In the Dutch language, the V is pronounced as a F sound in English, like so Apha, which means viper, and is also cognizant with the word apple, which snakes and apples, Garden of Eden, been there many times. Okay. So that's heaven. Hell, symbolically referenced as a world, an underworld, where the chthonic deities or devils or demons reside or rule. We've been through this word rule before, all right? So underworld, quite simply, is more a reference to the fact that the stars submerge beneath the horizon as opposed to actually being an actual place. The word saba for the stars and sub is the etymological clue into that. What we understand as hell is merely referencing the place that the stars go when they're submerged beneath the horizon. They go to the underworld, which is why the morning star is known as Venus, also known as Lucifer. The word hell originates with the Hebrew word Hallel, okay, which is another name for Lucifer, funny enough, all right? And Lucifer is also referenced as the morning star, the star that's brightest just before the sunrise and never quite gets high enough to rival the sun. That's the whole story of Lucifer. It's astrotheological, all right? So the fact that it then goes down beneath the horizon and it descends into the underworld, that is what they talk about Lucifer's descent into the underworld, because Lucifer is referenced as the shining one, the morning star. So hell comes from Hallel. The word Lucifer comes from Hallel. And of course, Lucifer also references the morning star, submerging into the underworld. Okay. Hallel, all right, here's the word Hallel again, and it is the root of halo and holy. The words halo and holy are rooted in the Hebrew word Hallel, which also references Lucifer or hell. Of course, you can't talk about hell without going to the word El. We've covered off El tremendously in great detail. The Latin transliteration of El, which is actually a symmetrical Hebrew root, would be Il, which is the IL. And then, of course, the Arabic transliteration of the EL is the AL. So El is a Semitic word meaning God or deity and references the quality of light, the plural of that being Elohim. Okay, and this is actually a depiction of William Blake's painting of Elohim creating Adam. and notice a snake wrapped around Adam's body. Very interesting. All right. So all these words, etymologically cognizant with each other, come from the same group rooting. Heaven, hell, holy, halo, and hello. Okay, as we spoke about already, El, the quality of light, all right, the root of hell, hello, and electricity, all right, like Electra. I beg your pardon. There we go. All right, just popping back here. So we've got the EL over here and electricity. EEL is a snake known as an eel, which is typically capable of electrocuting its prey. All right, we've heard of electric eels. I just love the word eel because it tells so much. First referencing a snake, then referencing something that's electric. Okay, so an eel is typically an underwater fish shaped like a snake, often with the ability to emit or electrocute prey or potential threats. And of course, Lucifer, the word Lucifer means light bringer. So this quality of light and fire, and that keeps coming up. And of course, this is a depiction of Lucifer. And again, we've got a snake. We've always got the snakes and serpents. Can't get away from them. Inextricable, inseparable link and symbol referencing the dragon. All right, the Bible says about Lucifer, all right? Lucifer is the god of this world, all right, meaning the god of the world we live in now. And that's pretty controversial because, you know, you can already hear the Christian religious fanatics screaming, but go read it in the Bible. It says Lucifer is god of this world. And the same is stated in The Secret Doctrine, which is Madame Blavatsky's book. And I'm a big fan of all the work portrayed by Blavatsky, who's pretty much spot on about everything. It also states, I don't know why this keeps happening, pardon me. So Blavatsky also states that Lucifer is god of this world, all right? Blavatsky was pretty much right about everything. Even Michael Tsarion says Blavatsky was pretty much bang on about everything. And he is as fanatical a researcher as I am. So I've got Blavatsky's works on my bookshelf. I reference her work a lot. And if she said it, I'll probably believe it. So if it's in Blavatsky's book, all right, and it says it in the Bible, what are we being told? Lucifer is god of this world. Interesting. Let's have a look. The root of Lucifer, the L-U-C root, goes into luck, all right? We say I'm lucky. In fact, a lot of Christians don't like using the word lucky because they know it comes from the root of Lucifer. They won't use the word luck or lucky. You can't say I'm lucky, all right? Luck or lucky comes from Lucifer. Like, lick, we've already spoken about, lick, and look. And we'll get into that one a bit. Now, fur, as in Lucifer, we've got, all right, the root fur. We've got luck, fur. Fur references fire, fairy, fairy as in a boat, and fury. Okay? Interesting that when you break down Lucifer, we've covered these roots off in other contexts. Let's look at luck. The concept of good and bad luck is rooted in the repeating theme of the ubiquitous duality. The word luck is rooted in the word Lucifer. Okay? Good and bad luck. And of course, look, we've covered this also off extensively. Look, or peer, what's a synonym for look? To peer. And the word peer is the word pear in Dutch. We've covered off pear as a symbol of the dragon. Tremendously, a great deal in previous dragonologies. And of course, pear or peer comes from the pala, para, peel root, very common dragon root triad. Now, another word for to actively look or peer would be to spy. A synonym for look or peer would be to spy, from the dragon root spiro, which indicates spiral. We've spoken of spirals in as a symbol, and spirit. Okay, so all three of these English verbs referencing the ability to look are all rooted in dragon etymology. Isn't that interesting? Okay, and of course the word eye comes from the Latin word oculus, which is where you get the word occult, which simply means hidden. And this, of course, is further extended by the concept of the watchers, which turns up in Genesis as well, the biblical watchers. Often you'll find angels depicted with eyes in their wings, as you see here, particularly seraphims or the heptagon angels, which are the six-winged angels. The word watcher translates into mar-e in the Semitic languages. The Semitic word mare is cognizant with the Hellenistic word miara, meaning bloodstained or taboo, indicative of the English mar, which we've already covered as a maritime law, and to mar, say that thing is marred, meaning to damage, spoil, impair, or make less perfect, to stain or to put a spot on it, okay, as miara means blood-stained, and mar could mean the same thing, to spoil, stain, okay? Stain someone's character. It's the same kind of theming going on here. The Hellenistic word miara evolved into menorah, which is a seven-pointed candlestick common in the Jewish faith. And, of course, miara also references the word menorrhea, which references the flow of blood at menstruation. All right, again, menstrual blood coming up again. It's a very specific thing, menstrual blood. It is a theme that repeats constantly. So miara, again, to mar, referencing to mar, to spoil, to stain, evolved from menorah and menorrhea. Okay, and then the menorah has seven, Sabbath, seven candles. Candles, again, flame, light, fire. Same themes over again. The seven candles of the menorah correspond with the seven sisters of the Pleiades and the 7 days of the week. The words menorrhea and menorah are indicative of the Latin term mens rea, meaning guilty mind. Now, for those of you law buffs out there, you know what mens rea is. Basically, it means like premeditated. Did you have the intent to commit a guilty act? Did you have the intent to stab someone? Did you intend to commit that act? Guilty mind means premeditated. Actus reus or mens reus constitutes a physical and mental element of crime. This is where we get into an interesting multi-level allegorical theme that is so commonly referenced, which is the scarlet whore, the whore of Babylon, okay? And depicted in this medieval depiction over here as riding on a seven-headed dragon, okay, beast of the apocalypse. And she's what? Carrying a chalice, a holy grail, presumably with blood in it. Okay, that's what they normally had in these chalices. And she's wearing scarlet, all right, in this particular depiction. And notice these guys are bowing down and worshipping the scarlet whore. Right, the whore of Babylon. Here again, very interesting in this one. You notice that the seven-headed beast of the apocalypse, or the dragon, actually has halos around them, as do the angels. Interesting that, yeah? Another depiction over here, whore of Babylon, again in red, carrying a chalice, beasts with 7 heads. Whore. The word whore contains the dragon root word or. Very, very common root word. Revelations chapter 17, verse 4. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. All right, referencing the scarlet whore or the whore of Babylon. All right, so this is very interesting. There is a lot of allegory here. She was arrayed in purple and scarlet. All right, not just the scarlet whore now, purple and scarlet. We covered off purple to a huge extent in last week's Dragonology. And adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. Let's have a look at that. What does that all mean? Of course, scarlet is symbolically representative of blood, most likely menstrual blood. And purple is the color most often associated with royalty, magic, mystery, new ages, and dragons. And we've spoken about this as well, being porphyrogenitus or porphyrogenitus. Porphyrogentia means being born in the purple or being purple born in the purple bedchambers. Royalty wore purple and crimson because it's the most expensive color to produce, and lots of many other reasons on energetic levels. Okay, treasure. I just spoke about in this particular discussion here about the whore of Babylon, golds, precious stones, and pearls indicating treasure. All right, treasure. Golds, precious stones, and pearls collectively indicating treasure, which in ancient Greek mystery religions references intellectual riches or sacred knowledge. That's what treasure means, okay? Intellectual riches or sacred knowledge. In fact, the word pearl comes from the pala-para-pio root. You think about pearls of wisdom, pearls of knowledge, right? And the chalice. The chalice is symbolic, hugely symbolic, and largely used in rituals, usually to drink blood out of, sometimes the menstrual blood of the high priestess, the fire star, the star fire. But the chalice generally represents the womb of the goddess or the high priestess, which is usually of the angelic royal dragon bloodlines. And it's their star fire or their menstrual blood that would be drank out of this cup in ritual ceremonies. And of course, the seven-headed beast of the apocalypse, that's interesting, that this beast has 7 heads. Number 7, obviously, linked with Sabbath and ritualistic immolation, death, blood drinking. These links keep carrying on. But here you notice as well, interesting mother goddess figure on a moon. That's very common. With stars, moons, stars, wings, and an aureola, which is an all-body halo. A halo that covers the whole body, not just the head. It's an aureola. So all the common themes and allegories pulled together in these pictures, all depicting something, all referencing something. And you can only really understand the symbolic allegory when you look into the etymology of how it all links together and what they're referencing. Okay, 7 days a week. Why are these 7 days a week? Okay, and as we said, it's got to do with sacrificial atonement, ritual, the Sabbath, and week, 7 days a week. What does the word week mean? All right, if you look it up, the word week is rooted in the Old English word Wiccan. Wicked is the word. The word Wiccan indicates the word wicked and witch. This is where you get wicked and witch from. It's from Wiccan. And if anybody has seen that film, The Wicker Man, all right, this is something that they do. They build a big wicker man and they stick people in them, and you can see them here, and then they burn it. A burnt offering, a holocaust. You see this stuff keeps coming up again and again. It's very specific things. Not something I go around doing every day. It's burning babies, all right? This is a very specific thing indicated again and again and again throughout the allegorical references. We've seen the film The Wicker Man, and this is one of the things that's practiced by the extreme Wiccans, not sort of the white Wiccans, but the burning of people inside a big Wicker Man type cage type thing. They set this whole thing on fire. All right? The words witch and wizard are synonymous with each other. They are inextricably paired and rooted with each other, come from the same root. But from the root of wizard, from the words wizard, you get lizard. So lizard and wizard are etymologically cognizant with each other. Okay, I love this little picture, little lizard dressed up like a wizard. And what's interesting to note is always a wizard's costumes, the same themes again, moon and stars. Yeah, always the same symbols. Okay. All right, that's it for tonight, guys. All this information is being compiled into our Encyclopedia of Dragonology. We ask you to please help support and sponsor the release of this massive body of research in full color book. We'll be releasing it in only one language because this language teaches all languages and breaks down all language to its one root language. So please help us spread this information to help people deprogram from this confusing level of reality which has been put upon us and largely through our language. We hope to help people deconfuse themselves from that with the work that we've done and that we've compiled. I will be speaking at the Untangled Gathering, which is on the 27th of June, 2015. And the first one will be called Origins. Many interesting speakers will be there, including Dr. Credo Mutwa and Johan Oldenkamp. So please join us for that. And you can find all the details on tug.events. And all the information about upcoming events and speakers is on there now. And you can reserve your front row seat to the best university on earth at tug.events. So check it out, please. If anybody missed any previous episodes of Dragonology or you wish to catch up later, feel free to download a high-definition version of any one of the broadcasts from CCN at efimarket.com. All CCN broadcasts are uploaded to the high-definition archive, which is available exclusively at efimarket.com. Each broadcast that you download is €5 a download, or for €10 a month, you get unlimited access to all of CCN's high-definition downloads, which are archived at efimarket.com. Please support our network. We have a network support fund going at the moment to try and keep CCN going. We've laid out the costs very clearly as to what we need to keep going. We run at less than 1% of the cost of any other comparative network out there with the same amount of live broadcasts. And we are the most cutting-edge platform in alternative media, guys, so please help us keep going. We cannot do this without public support. We simply do not want to get to the point of accepting corporate sponsorship. So the only way we can keep this platform going is with your support, guys. Please, if you feel so inclined, donate. And we do thank you very much for supporting free and independent media. Our next show coming up after this one is The Consciousness of Economics with Bridget Lynn, and she will be taking you through episode 2. This is her second broadcast, so stay tuned. If you want to see what else is on CCN, please check out our broadcast guide, which is updated every week, and we constantly have new broadcasters joining us. Everything is, of course, available at consciousconsumernetwork.tv, so check out our website, which has just been revamped. And that is it from me, Mel V. Until next week, we'll see you then.